So I get asked a lot about shadow boxing, about why we shadow box before classes. And after talking to people for over the years, I kind of came to the idea that there's usually two thoughts from members on why we do it. Thought one is we're just doing something to move around, to warm up, to loosen up. We're hitting the bag anyways, so let's throw our arms around and just kind of get our heart rate moving for when we go to hit the bag. It's the wrong one, by the way, FYI. That's not the why we shadow box. The second reason is close to why we shadow box. The second one people tell me is, I want to loosen up. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything right. I want to make sure that when I'm hitting the heavy bag that I'm doing the right technique, and I want to make sure that I don't fall over. I want to make sure that if I'm going to hit the bag, I might as well just do it right. That's another conversation that I could easily have, is showing up to a kickboxing class and not really wanting to learn how to do the kickboxing. For me, that's just always been weird. I mean, that's like, going to a dance class and say, I'm just going to spin in circles, but I'll be around everybody else that's learning the dance moves. I'll have fun. So, I mean, obviously you want to come in there and sweat, release some stress, hit the bag. You don't really want to sit there and worry too much on the angle, on the pivot, on how to rotate your hip, on how to turn a knuckle and how to adjust and how to targets. That stuff's, of course, beneficial, but I understand why somebody would put more focus into the cardio aspect. That's okay. But the shadow boxing, what shadow boxing does for us, and the shadow boxing doesn't just exist in boxing. Shadow boxing doesn't just exist in kickboxing. There's many different names as to what people will recognize shadow boxing to be for the different styles. Shadow boxing is definitely the term we use in Muay Thai, in kickboxing and boxing. I know the other traditional martial arts, they use terms like the katas. They use terms like the punseis. So all of these are forms of shadow boxing depending on the style that you train. And the premise of shadow boxing is to create what's called the flow. The flow is really what fighting, the physical part of it, really is. It's not the art of standing in front of somebody and trying to punch, kick, and hit them before they can hit you back. That is pretty much the ending result. But what you're training for is to create a sense of flow, to really be able to control your body, to control your movement, control your breathing. These are all elements of shadow boxing. There's a lot of different ways to train striking. Shadow boxing should be along the top of the list of something that you do regularly. In the fight world, we've been to many fights and had many fighters compete against other styles. And you can always tell what style they are, not just based off the techniques they're displaying, but kind of how they're hitting, or how they're pushing or pulling or whipping. And these are all different terms for strikes. Pushing a punch is not the same as whipping a punch. I've had many fighters that train almost exclusively on the heavy bag. So pretty much it's a confidence builder. It's target practice. The bag doesn't hit back. It moves, but it's not moving at a degree that it's really going to start to make you focus on your movement, on your footwork, on positioning. You don't think about that, because if the bag touches you, you just step back or reset. In reality, if that was a person, you got touched, something happens. So you want to make sure that if you're going to be hitting the heavy bag, that you're not pushing your punches. This means that you're putting muscle and power and force and everything behind every single strike you throw. This is a great recipe to get tired. We've had many guys compete against our fighters that came in there for 30 seconds. They were in there trying to knock their heads off as if they had a personal vendetta against them. And that's not the case. They just train as such. They train on the heavy bag for the majority of their fight, that everything they do is for a knockout. Everything they do is full energy. Everything they do is 100% maximum impact. You get tired fighting like that. A lot of the times you'll have guys that are patiently waiting, keeping distance, throwing just enough to stay keeping that person guessing. Then you see them tire out, and then you see what happens. a war of attrition, and cardio is king. It's the most important element to a fight, to martial arts, to any athletic sports. Cardio is king. So shadowboxing allows you to develop a rhythm, understanding how to use your body, how to move your body, how to not throw just a punch, but how to have your whole body working in sync to deliver the punch. And that's really what you'll notice on those fighters that tend to be light on their feet. They're moving around, they're finding angles, they're picking their shots, they're hitting these people at will. And this is why. They trained exactly how they look in the fight. Moving around, staying light on the feet, focusing on using your whole body to set up your techniques. That way you're not pushing, you're not falling over, you don't feel stiff, you're loose. Shadowboxing is a great warm-up, absolutely. When it's done correctly, it is a killer cardio workout. This is the reason why shadowboxing is a huge part of training. It can't be overlooked. It has to be done, and it has to be done regularly. Shadowboxing is going to help you develop that dance, the footwork. Most sports require some form of speed and agility, balance, some form of movement. And the better your movement is, combined with the better your footwork, with your balance, with your breathing, with staying loose, this is how you slowly start to develop the confidence. This is how you slowly start to get in front of somebody and start to hit them, while also being understanding that they're going to hit you back. You don't get really that same feeling on the heavy bag. So you can't spend the majority of your time just hitting the heavy bag. You'll become a heavy bag hitter, and that is a recipe for disaster when it comes to actually, if you ever had to use this stuff for reals. So that's why we shadow box. That's why we hit pads. Hitting pads is one of the most efficient ways to really focus on your accuracy and flowing your combos together. So hitting the pads is 100% beneficial. So if any of you in the classes and instructors coming around with the pads, take advantage of that moment. That is a defining point on your technique, on your breathing, on your movement. It's a lot harder to hit pads than a heavy bag. If you've done it, you know. It's a lot more taxing on the heart rate, mainly because we forget to breathe, because we're so focused on hitting the smaller target that a human being is holding. We don't want to hit them. All these things play a factor, but this is what we're training to do, is hit things correct. We're training to hit things safely, and we're just training to hit things because in the end, you just never know when you're going to have to defend yourself. It's not what we're teaching there, but we are teaching real techniques. So I'd say take advantage of it. Take advantage of the shadow boxing that we do before classes. It's just going to allow you to stay a lot looser. It's going to allow you to really understand how to control your body. That's going to make it a lot easier to control your breathing, mixing up your speed and power. And that's what you're going to get between the shadow boxing and the heavy bag training and hitting the pads. They're all the same ending result, but there are three different elements to really getting you a better understanding of how to use your body. Whatever martial art you train, you don't just show up and spar. That's not going to work. You're not going to evolve. You show up, you train your eyes, you train your body, you train your breathing, you train everything to be able to then train the techniques. So you can't bypass that. That's how you're going to understand what you're doing. It's going to be a lot funner. You're going to improve a lot quicker, and everything that you're doing is just going to start to click like light bulbs, and then you'll understand why we do what we do. So please do the shadow boxing. If you have any questions, we're always there to help. Shadow boxing is so important that it's definitely something I will personally take time out of my day to help you with, as would Coach James, as would Coach Sergio, Coach Maya, Coach John, who we just hired. Look out for him on the schedule. So please ask, implement it into your workouts, understand why you're doing it. That way when you do it, you can make sure that you do it the correct way, and it's just going to make everything easier and funner in the classes. Hope that helps anybody. It is my wife's birthday today. Just wanted to shout out to her. I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you guys. I will see you in the gym. Goodbye.